Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. I'm going to be going out on a bit of a limb today and listening to a group that many of you have been recommending called Pantera. Now, to give you an idea about how little I know about Pantera, I thought that they were a country group until some patrons recently corrected me on that. I guess that they're more on the metal side of things, but I think that one of their albums is called Cowboys from Hell. And so when I saw this recommendation come up, I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't know that the fans wanted me to go country, but maybe they do. And anyhow, that was a fun correction. I also found out in the prep work of this that this song apparently contains one of the greatest guitar solos of all time, judged by Guitar World as, I guess, 35th of 100 guitar solos that are considered the greatest guitar solos of all time. So that should be fun to listen to. And the name of the song is Cemetery Gates. Let's get to it. This is definitely not country. Feels rock, a little bit of metal in there too. And this voice is smooth. This voice almost sounds like 90s smooth jazz to me. I think Phil is his name. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Phil is the name of the lead singer in this band. Yeah, very smooth sound, which is a nice contrast to some of the more gritty sound that I heard in the guitar. And of course, the very punchy percussion, well, drums, percussion. She's a classical person. She said percussion instead of drums. I know. But anyhow, I'm going to keep listening. Okay, that little ow moment was really awesome. Also, we went from ooh, so smooth to suddenly all of this grit. It's just very fun. Okay, this voice has some fun elements to it for sure. Oh, that's a cool guitar line that's coming up. First of all, that was super catchy. But also I was listening to Phil's voice and just sort of mesmerized by the way that he's adding and taking away the grit. That's something I definitely look for when I'm listening to voices. I want to know, is it a color for them that they can choose from, or do they have to have grit all the time? And his last few notes that were held out here just had a demonstration of really good, clean singing. So that lets me know for sure that he's adding the grit as a color on top, which shows good technique. That is the way it should be done. And also it sounded like he almost had different types he could add. It sounded like he had some levels of grit, which is pretty fascinating to me. Let's keep going. Let's catch this little, there was some cool guitar thing right away that I was like, whoa, catchy. Yeah, the part where it goes up there is unexpected in the guitar line. I really, really like that. Also, this pause was fantastic to really clear the air so that you could appreciate this guitar riff. So much hair.
Sometimes when I'm alone, I wonder aloud if you're watching.
And so it sounds like they've combined this smooth sound in the vocal with some sort of synth. Probably a synth from a keyboard that you could always attach that to guitar to. Whatever the electric input is, it would need to be MIDI input that creates this like smoother synth sound in the background. And I really appreciate that they have this contrast in the song, partly because I think it just shows Phil's vocal range very nicely. It's like, I think about Cemetery Gates and I think like, oh, like maybe the peace of dying slash the angst of dying at the same time. So it's got a really interesting contrast in here.
Someplace far about, I must reverse my life. I can't live in the past and set my soul free. Belong to me at last. Through all those complex years, I thought I was alone. I didn't care to look around and make this world my own. And when she died, I should have cried and spared myself some pain. You left me incomplete, all alone as the memories still remain.
Again, loving that pause there. I'm really listening close to his vibrato now. I'm trying to like figure out what he's doing. That it's most of the time he's singing without vibrato, and then he'll add in all kind of a wide vibrato, a wider vibrato than I would have expected, honestly. Usually just sort of at the very ends of phrases. Vibrato is an expressive tool, so I like hearing people add a little vibrato and take it away. I personally really enjoy it when a person is able to control the amount of vibrato that they have, from very little to quite a bit. I'm game for that whole gamut of vibrato, but I just want to know that they can change it up to add to that expression. And that's what he's doing here. He's really able to lean in a little bit. Vibrato often shows like an overwhelming amount of emotion, like, oh, like maybe you're almost like getting choked up because you're overwhelmed with emotion, or vulnerability is another thing that it can indicate. So I think it's very interesting. Let's go back and listen a little bit to that vibrato. It's also great to hear vibrato with some of the grittier singing that he's doing right now with these harsh vocals. Knowing that there's some vibrato in there often indicates to me he is able to relax that larynx a little bit to let the muscle tremors naturally occur. Ooh, oof, that's a harsh image. But that image probably applies to guitar solo, which I believe is coming up. I understand that the guitarist of this band is legendary, but he was also shot during one of their performances, I think in 2004. So I imagine that, I don't know when this music video was made, but I wonder if it's calling back to that, because that I imagine was a huge loss to the band. Now, rewind a little bit to the vocals there. I just wanted to point out there are 2 vocals that are layered. So I think that Phil has harmonized with himself essentially in post, because I don't see any of the other band members singing here. But it's just a nice, simple harmony that just lifts that texture a little bit, gives it a little more additional interest. Since there's so much that's happening with the instruments and the drums, there's just a lot that's going on in the sounds. Having a simple harmony, enter and go away and enter and go away, is useful for just keeping things fresh. Let's go back and listen to that a little bit more. There. Oh. I totally thought that was a gun, and it looks like it's like a salt shaker. Is that what's happening? Okay. Well, whew. I was like, oh, that's a bit of a violent image all of a sudden. Okay, cool. Just draw your attention really quickly. They did this really cool delay effect on the gates. So they have his S coming back again and again. That's a cool sound. I like the way that they added that delay. Oh, let's go back a little bit more. Coming out. There. It's cool. Whoa. I am not a guitar player. I do have a guitar. I got it from Amazon like 5 or 6 years ago, and I've never tuned it because I just use the strings for horror cues sometimes that I make, like for video games or film. Anyhow, this is extraordinary. Like, I love it when I see really fast passages, but he's also modulating sometimes in those passages, which I think is really cool. And also, I feel like this is probably a legendary Guitar Hero level. Let me know in the comments below which level that is. I'm sure it must be one, right? It has to be. It's really fantastic. But I like the way that when it started like really going with like a lot more energy and a lot more drive, they paired it with this guy running too. So anyhow, it's really cool. Yeah. I love the way they brought back that guitar riff that was so catchy. It just really pops out in the ears. And again, even in the guitar solo, they had an amazing moment of silence. Those moments of silence make you appreciate the sound afterwards so much more. I think they're using silence very, very well in this song. That was fantastic. That was just a clean, gorgeous, supported, like made from the entire body scream. It's like a sing scream. That sounded so well produced, so healthily produced, but at the same time, it sounded so desperate. I loved it. I loved it. Let's go back and get it again. And there's that little bit of vibrato at the end. Ooh, I love the primal sound of this. It's a really like grab your heart kind of scream. Ah! Like, oh, that was so great. Oh, there's another one. We're going to go back and listen to this all one more time. I'm just going to let it go this time, I swear. I love the way the guitar slid up and echoed exactly on the same pitches, the scream. So exact same pitches happen in the guitar right after he finishes singing. I hope that they echo again after this. This is so cool. Oh, back a little more. What a whale. Oh, this ending is so amazing. I love this play between, it's almost like the guitar is another singer, the way that they're interacting back and forth. It sounds like a duet between them. And the way he goes up high and then the guitar echoes it exactly. And that happens 3 times. And then at the end, the guitar actually gets the last high say. And then the way it's sliding down here at the end and then adds this like really like jumpy distortion. It almost sounds like a singer's voice like going over a huge register shift, the way it like kind of cracks down at one point. I love it. Let's listen to it one more time. So it's kind of far back, sorry. Wow. That was an insane ending. It's hard to be able to quantify how good that was. I loved that back and forth with the guitar and the wail. Both of them, they just sounded so desperate. And I love the way that the ending ramped up and then just kind of left. A lot of times you see a climactic point and then a little bit more let down after the climax. This one was just like, no, you're done. I loved that. And I loved the song overall, hearing the different textures and different feelings they were bringing in. It really seems like, I used to think that metal was like one big barrage of sound, and it's not. There's so many different options and different colors and expressions within that sound. And this is not country. This is metal. Amazing. Thank you to all of you that recommended this. I am so glad that I've been introduced finally to Pantera. And I hope to do more Pantera on the channel in the future. This was really fantastic and just great to hear. So thank you so much. to all of you. Please keep making those recommendations down below in the comments section of this video. We do read them and count them too. And if you want to get to know me better, you can find me on Patreon, or you can learn more about voice or about music in general at thecharismaticvoice.com. Thanks so much.